Imagine you are browsing the internet on your laptop.
Right.
You're looking for a specific document, and suddenly this super sketchy, totally unverified file just pops up on your screen.
Oh, yeah. We all know that feeling.
Exactly. And I mean, you wouldn't just blindly click accept download, would you?
Obviously not. And you know it might be malware.
Right. It could completely corrupt your hard drive, steal your processing power, or, just crash your entire system.
Yeah. We are fiercely protective of our digital devices.
We totally are. We put up firewalls. We're constantly running antivirus software. Yet every single day you walk into a room and someone just starts venting their chaotic energy at you, and you blindly hit accept on that human download.
It's so true. Just let it right in.
We do. So today we are unpacking a really transformative and honestly incredibly dense set of excerpts titled Coherent Touch and the Intelligence of Discernment.
It's a fantastic text.
It really is. And our mission today is to fundamentally rewire how you filter those interactions.
Yeah.
We are moving completely past the idea of just physical touch.
Right. Way beyond that.
Yeah, we're looking at how every single interaction you have, whether it's a mental exchange, an emotional conversation, or even just the energetic presence of another person, is literally shaping your internal world.
What's fascinating here is that the text explicitly shatters the illusion that we're all just, isolated islands. Most of us walk through life assuming our borders remain totally intact unless someone physically bumps into us. But the source material states there is no such thing as isolated contact.
Wow. No such thing at all.
Exactly. All contact is relational, and more importantly, it's causal. Like it causes a direct, measurable effect in you.
So it's actively doing something to your system.
Yes. When you let something touch you emotionally or energetically, you are allowing it to actively participate in the construction or, the destruction of your internal world.
That is heavy.
It is. And to navigate this, the text lays out a baseline rule. And this is really the core principle for you, the listener, to keep in mind throughout this entire deep dive.
Okay, what is it?
You should only engage with what is coherent enough to meet you in mutual respect, reciprocity, and alignment.
Okay, let's actually define that word before we go any further, because coherence can sound, a bit abstract.
Yeah, it definitely can.
When the text talks about coherence, it's describing a state where your body, your mind, and your actions are all operating in sync without internal friction.
Right.
Think of a laser beam compared to just a regular light bulb. The light bulb scatters light everywhere in this chaotic, really inefficient way.
Sure.
But the laser is coherent. All the light waves are moving perfectly together, which gives it immense focus and power.
I love that analogy.
Thanks. So when the text says to only engage with what is coherent, it's basically telling us to look for interactions that are aligned and stable rather than, chaotic and scattering.
And that laser analogy really highlights the biological mechanism the text introduces next. Because if we are supposed to only engage with coherence, how do we actually detect it in the real world?
Right, like what's our radar for that?
Well, the text argues that your conscious mind is actually way too slow for this job. Your body is your first intelligence.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Before a single thought even forms in your prefrontal cortex, your nervous system has already performed this incredibly complex data assessment of the person or the situation in front of you.
It's just automatically.
Automatically. The text puts it beautifully, actually. It says the body does not guess, it detects.
And it detects using these incredibly specific primal binaries, right? It's constantly scanning the environment for tension versus openness,
Exactly. Contraction versus expansion.
distortion versus coherence. And this feeling. You walk into a meeting room, a specific person starts talking, and before you even process the actual vocabulary coming out of their mouth, your stomach tightens.
Oh, totally. Or your jaw clenches up.
Right. Or conversely, you meet someone and your shoulders immediately drop, your breathing slows down, and you just feel this real sense of expansion.
That is your physiological detection system operating perfectly. It treats the environment like raw data.
It's just reading the room.
Yes, reading the subtle cues of facial micro-expressions, vocal tone, and posture that your conscious mind often just glosses over out of politeness.
Okay, let's unpack this, because my immediate pushback when reading that section was really about reliability.
Fair enough.
Like, how do you know the difference between pattern recognition at the level of the nervous system and just, being overly sensitive.
Yeah, that's a common question.
Or maybe you're just having a terrible day, your coffee was cold, you hit traffic, and now you're projecting that bad mood onto a perfectly nice person. Isn't this just emotional reactivity?
It's a great point, but the source makes a really crucial distinction here between story and state.
Story state, okay.
Yeah. Emotional reactivity always arrives with a story. It's that really loud voice in your head spinning a narrative.
Like, oh, they're looking at me funny, they must think I'm unqualified.
Exactly. Or, oh, they always ignore my ideas. That is just the mind rummaging through your past wounds and projecting a narrative onto the present.
Right, it's making stuff up.
But the body's primary intelligence does not have a story. It simply registers a state. It is a pure data read.
So it's essentially acting like a thermostat on the wall.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like a thermostat doesn't judge the room for being hot. It doesn't tell a story about how the room is always hot and it's so unfair.
Right. It's not holding a grudge against the radiator.
Exactly. It just detects the temperature and registers the data. It just says, hey, it's 85 degrees in here.
That is the perfect way to look at it. When your body resists contact, when that stomach tightens, it's identifying a tangible lack of safety, a lack of reciprocity, or a lack of emotional maturity in the field of the other person.
And we usually just ignore that.
We do. And the text issues a really severe warning about what happens mechanically when you ignore that thermostat.
What happened?
When your body clearly says no, but your social conditioning forces you to smile and say yes, you create active fragmentation within your own system.
Ouch.
Yeah, you are essentially splitting yourself in two. You are spending metabolic energy to override your own survival instincts.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Honoring the signal, on the other hand, creates coherence. It aligns your internal physical state with your outward behavioral action.
Wow. If ignoring the body's signal causes that kind of internal splintering, it fundamentally changes the weight of our everyday decisions, doesn't it?
Completely.
We aren't just choosing whether to have a polite conversation. We are actively choosing whether to preserve our internal structure.
Right.
And the text actually distills this into this powerful maxim: every yes creates a pathway. Every no preserves structure.
Let's look at the mechanics of that yes, too. Because when you agree to an interaction, you are literally opening a conduit.
Like a bridge.
Exactly. You build a bridge between your nervous system and theirs. And the source points out that human nervous systems are biologically driven to seek a shared baseline when they connect.
Oh, right. Entrainment.
Yes, entrainment. So if you choose to engage with incoherence, say a person who is highly dysregulated, really chaotic, or operating out of deep unhealed trauma, your system basically has a choice.
It can't just stay neutral.
No. It either has to expend massive amounts of energy to maintain its own stability and try to pull them up, or, and this is much more common, it adapts downward to meet them at their baseline of chaos.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That explains the exhaustion.
Doesn't it?
Think about the last time you had a conversation with someone who was just spiraling in negativity. By the end of that 30-minute coffee, you feel like you haven't slept in 2 days.
Totally drained.
Your brain is foggy, your boundaries feel super blurry, and you just walk away irritable. You didn't just listen to their words. Your system actually adapted downward to match their distortion.
And your clarity weakens because you allowed an incoherent file to download into your system.
Going back to the malware analogy.
Exactly. This is why the source emphasizes the immense power of not doing.
Not doing.
Yeah. When you encounter that incoherence, choosing not to engage is actually the most highly functional response you can have. Action inherently creates entanglement.
Our modern culture really struggles with that concept, though.
Oh, absolutely.
We tend to frame not doing as laziness or apathy or just a passive absence of action. If you aren't engaging, society just assumes you're checking out.
Right, like you're just giving up.
But reading this, a different image came to my mind. Not doing art isn't an empty room. It is an active fortress.
An active fortress. I love that.
You are actively manning the gates. You are consciously holding the drawbridge up to protect the city inside from being pillaged.
And the effort required to keep that drawbridge up in a society that just demands constant accessibility, it's profound.
It really is.
Discernment simply determines if lowering the bridge will result in a constructive trade or a hostile takeover. You are protecting your developmental direction.
But I mean, eventually we do have to lower the drawbridge. We are social creatures.
Of course.
When we do decide to say yes, what exactly are we entangling with? Because we aren't just letting in a person's physical body or their immediate words.
No, not at all.
The source introduces this concept of the feel, suggesting we're actually stepping into a complex, invisible architecture.
Right. A relationship is never just two people passing notes back and forth. It is a shared field of interaction.
Hmm.
When you lower the drawbridge, you are stepping into a structure that contains their emotional tone, their psychological defense mechanisms, their behavioral consistency over time, and their energetic stability.
Wow.
You are relating to the entire weather system they generate.
Which is incredibly intimidating if you really think about it.
Hmm.
You're stepping into their weather system, and they're stepping into yours.
Exactly.
And because of the stakes involved, the text insists on a rigorous set of criteria for what it calls energetic reciprocity.
Hmm.
Healthy interaction requires actual structural mutuality.
It does.
It provides 4 specific stress test questions to evaluate the person you're engaging with.
Right, and these are so important. Question one is, can they receive?
Meaning, if you offer genuine feedback or care, do they have the capacity to actually take it in? Or does it just bounce off an insecure wall?
Exactly. Then question two, can they respect?
Like, do they honor your boundaries without making you feel incredibly guilty for having them in the first place?
Right. And question three looks closely at the nervous system. Can they regulate themselves?
That is a huge one.
That's critical. Are they taking responsibility for their own emotional weather, or are they constantly using you as an external pacifier?
Oh, wow. An external pacifier.
Yeah, if they dump their anxiety onto you, fully expecting your coherence to calm them down, they lack structural capacity.
And then question 4 is sort of the ultimate filter, right? Can they maintain coherence under pressure?
Yes, because many people can mimic coherence when the sun is shining and everything is going their way.
Right, when it's easy.
But the moment there's a misunderstanding or a delayed flight or a direct conflict, do they immediately collapse into chaos, blame, and passive aggression?
So what does this all mean? When you inevitably get it wrong, because let's be honest, we all do, and you let someone into your fortress who fails those 4 questions, what's the actual fallout of a one-sided exchange?
If we connect this to the bigger picture the text paints, the consequence isn't just, a minor inconvenience. A one-sided interaction guarantees 3 structural failures.
Which are?
Drain, distortion, and imbalance. You are actively pouring your coherent energy, like your focus, your empathy, your patience, into a container that literally has holes in it.
Right.
And in return, because the pathway is open, you are absorbing their instability. Reciprocity is not just some polite social convention. The text argues it is a load-bearing pillar.
Without it, the whole thing falls apart.
Without it, the structure of the connection will collapse under the weight of the distortion, and it's going to take your internal stability down with it.
Now, setting up a gauntlet of 4 structural stress tests, just to decide if you should be friends with someone, it might sound a bit clinical.
Sure.
It sounds a bit harsh to a modern ear, almost like we're reducing human connection to a ruthless math equation.
It can definitely sound that way.
But the text pivots brilliantly here. It reveals that this isn't some modern, hyper-individualistic psychology hack. This strict filtering system is actually an ancient, deeply embedded framework for how life itself functions. It introduces the primordial mother framework.
Yes. The source looks across multiple indigenous and ancient traditions to examine how the archetype of the mother has been understood throughout human history. It moves the mother out of a strictly biological role and elevates her to a cosmic principle.
Okay, a cosmic principle.
Right. The primordial mother represents the foundational field that allows life to safely emerge, interact, and sustain itself without being totally destroyed by the raw chaos of the universe.
And the mythologies they pull in to illustrate this are just stunning. They reference Spider Grandmother from Hopi and other indigenous traditions.
Yes, she's a great example.
She doesn't just passively watch the world. She actively weaves the web of relational reality, creating the very threads that connect things.
And they look at Aryan Mankur from Celtic mythology, too.
Right? The fierce keeper of cycles, dictating what is actually allowed to take embodiment. And Yamoja, from the Yoruba tradition, the vast ocean that is the source of life, but also the ultimate force of containment.
And across oceans and millennia, the structural pattern of these mother figures remains completely identical.
They're all on the same page.
Exactly. They do not indiscriminately allow anything and everything to access their field. The text outlines that the mother governs the fundamental laws of touch through 5 unyielding rules.
Recognition, permission, containment, nourishment, and protection.
Right.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this entirely subverts the modern cultural trope.
It really flips it on its head.
Today, we are conditioned to think of motherly love as completely unconditional, passively accepting, and entirely boundaryless.
We idolize that image.
We do. We idolize the image of a mother who just gives endlessly, absorbing every ounce of toxic behavior or chaos without a single complaint. But this text says the ancient archetype of the mother is the ultimate filter.
Yes. Recognition means she clearly sees the state of what is approaching.
Permission means she restricts or grants access based on that specific state.
Containment sets the boundaries of behavior once they're actually inside.
Nourishment is only given to what can actually receive it.
And protection means she aggressively defends the structure from distortion.
It's a radical paradigm shift.
It is, and the text is super careful to explain that this filtering is not born out of moral judgment.
Right. It's not about good versus evil.
Exactly. The mother isn't locking the gates because the chaotic elements are inherently evil. She's doing it out of pure functional intelligence.
Functional intelligence.
Think about the biology of a cell. The cell membrane is the ultimate mother. It selectively filters what nutrients come in and what toxins stay out.
That makes perfect sense.
If the cell membrane suddenly adopted modern unconditional love and just allowed everything to cross its border, the cell would die instantly.
Wow. That would be destroyed.
Without selective filtering, creation literally collapses into chaos. Boundaries dissolve, structure breaks down, and coherence just cannot stabilize. This strict filtering is the exact mechanism that allows complexity and growth to exist in the universe.
It is incredibly validating to reframe boundaries not as, a defense mechanism born of trauma, but as a biological and cosmic necessity for life to actually thrive.
Totally.
So, knowing that this is a functional necessity, how do we pull this out of ancient mythology and apply it to a random Tuesday afternoon?
Right. How do we live this?
Yeah, how do we use this ancient intelligence in our modern lives? And the text answers this with the concept of total system impact and the practice of precision-based living.
Total system impact maps out the cascade effect of ignoring the mother's rules of filtering.
It breaks down how one single interaction ripples through 5 layers.
Yes, 5 distinct layers of your being. First, it hits the body, dictating your muscle tension and nervous system regulation.
Then it infiltrates the mind, clouding your clarity and introducing these mental loops of frustration.
Third, it disrupts your emotions, replacing stability with reactive spikes.
Fourth, it hits your energy, leaving you severely depleted instead of expanded.
And finally, it impacts your spirit, pulling you off your overall direction and just compromising your integrity.
Let's ground this in reality for a second. Say you ignore your body's signal and you agree to go to lunch with a highly dysregulated coworker who just thrives on office gossip.
We've all been there.
Oh, definitely. And this isn't just an hour of lost time. Your body literally sits in tension for 60 minutes while they complain.
Right.
You return to your desk, but your mind is now looping on all that negativity, completely destroying your afternoon focus.
Your productivity is gone.
Gone. Then you snap at your partner later that evening because your emotional stability is fried. Your energy is entirely depleted.
And then comes the spirit impact.
Yes, you feel a subtle shame, a hit to your spirit, because you compromised your integrity by engaging in gossip you don't even care about. You allowed incoherence in, and your entire 5-layer system paid a massive tax.
That cascade effect is exactly why the text advocates for precision-based living.
Which means consciously requiring reciprocity.
Exactly. Actively waiting for coherence and giving your profound yes only to what aligns with your structural integrity.
But, and this is a big but, if we apply this precision, demanding structural capacity, refusing to adapt downward, and basically acting as a strict filter for our own lives, we kind of have to confront a very real modern anxiety.
Which is?
Doesn't this make you an isolated perfectionist? Like, if I demand perfect coherence, I might find myself sitting alone in my active fortress permanently because, let's face it, nobody is perfect.
It's a valid fear, but the source anticipates this exact fear and dismantles it so beautifully.
So,
It states that discernment is not restriction.
okay.
It is the structure that allows actual truth and profound connection to survive without collapsing. You are not demanding flawlessness from people.
You're not expecting them to never make a mistake.
Right. You are demanding capacity. You're demanding that they have the ability to repair, to regulate, and to respect the bridge between you. The relief comes from accepting a really fundamental truth.
Which is?
You are simply not meant to touch everything.
Wow. You're not meant to touch everything. That really lifts such a heavy burden.
Doesn't it?
We don't have to save every dysregulated person. We don't have to absorb every chaotic piece of news. To summarize the ultimate lesson from these dense, brilliant excerpts, everything out there in the world that is not real, that is not reciprocal, and that lacks coherence is just noise.
It's pure distortion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you choose not to engage with that noise, you are not missing out on life. You are actively preserving your internal structure so that when the real coherent connections finally arrive at your drawbridge, you actually have the stability to welcome them in.
This raises an important question, though. Something for you, the listener, to deeply consider long after you finish listening today.
I love a good takeaway.
The text insists that what you allow in determines what you become, and that everything outside of coherent reciprocity is just noise.
Right.
If that's true, what if our entire modern concept of self-discovery is backwards?
Wait, really? How?
Well, what if personal growth isn't about going out into the world to acquire more experiences, more connections, and more information? What if your true nature is already entirely complete, and the ultimate act of self-realization is just a ruthless, lifelong audit of deciding which noise you finally need to stop touching?
A ruthless audit of the noise. What a profound way to look at the space we create when we finally hold up the drawbridge. So tomorrow, when you walk into a room or check your phone and you are faced with a choice to engage, remember the digital download.
Don't just click accept.
Don't blindly click accept on a corrupted file. Pause. Tune into the thermostat of your body. Ask yourself if this interaction is bringing structural coherence or just chaos.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.